And the session before we go to the panel discussion is by Graham Alder, who is the General Manager of B+LNZG Genetics. And B+LNZG Genetics is the youngest of the programs, and he's going to talk about what it's trying to do and the future. Thanks, Graham.
Thanks, Neville. A number of the previous speakers, like Jude and Mark, have covered off some of the things we are doing, so that made my life a wee bit easier. B+LNZG Genetics, you've seen over 75% of B+LNZG Genetics today by the time I finish, because we've got 3.5 of us, and I'm the third of the 3.5. So the other 0.5 keeps the business going in the background. Okay, B+LNZG Genetics structure. We're a combination of legacy organisations. SIL, which was run by B+LNZG New Zealand Limited, the Central Progeny Test, again run by B+LNZG New Zealand Limited, OVITA, which Eleanor talked about, an Ag Research B+LNZG consortium, and we've got additional funding for beef genetics. So that's all been amalgamated into one company as of late last year, and our role is to bring that together to generate profit for farmers. So there's a number of legacy issues that we're working through, as well as delivering on our program. Our purpose being we're a wholly owned subsidiary of B+LNZG New Zealand. So our shareholders are effectively all sheep and beef levy payers in New Zealand. We have a separate board. We report to an independent board, but B+LNZG New Zealand are effectively own our business. So our centric is very much commercially focused and delivering outcomes that are going to generate profit on farm for commercial farmers. And it's probably a bit of a change from the OVITA days, which had probably a higher component of pure research in it than what B+LNZG Genetics is about. The other parts of the program which lie in behind it, we've got funding from MB, the government, B+LNZG New Zealand, and third parties. Is we still have a capability development fund going through. I think next month, or we have a senior lecturer position appointed at Otago University in quantitative genetics, and we've got some PhD students underway. So our tagline is really genetics for profit. And so if someone asks what we're about, and it's a quick conversation, that's pretty much, and it ties in pretty much where it was encouraging to see where Lee's going with his, and has gone with his program. In terms of trying to encapsulate all the different strands and programs and projects, we've sort of captured them under sourcing information and applying it to farm goals. So under sourcing information, it's distinguishing performance from genetic merit. So this is sorting out from performance recording to producing breeding value. So the work we're doing in SIL sits under here. Ongoing unbiased assessment. This is our progeny test, like the Central Progeny Test or our Beef Progeny Test programs. Aligning breeding values to farm management goals is our economics, and as you saw with Jude, work in that area. We've also added in our looking at some maternal traits and achieving ongoing genetic gain. This is extension and adoption. We're in the process of recruiting some adoption, some field extension managers. There used to be some in the past, but they went west when the wool levy disappeared, and there's been demand from breeders to reintroduce and provide some support in that area, which we are doing. In terms of sheep, I've got we had a bit of a cull yesterday when Neville went through my slides, so we've just gone down to a few slides to flick through, so we finish ahead of time. In sheep, the genetic engine, the SIL genetic engine, Mark talked about this. It's want to make it bigger, faster, and provide better genetic evaluations. The current system is, let's say, an analogy would be, think back to the days when companies had sent all your documents off to a typing pool. So that's how it currently runs. There's manual recording in the field. The forms are transcribed, sent off to what are called bureaus. Bureaus enter this data into the database. There's an evaluation done on pedigree and performance data. The genomic data is done externally and then brought in, as Ken talked about. And then they get hard copies, those lovely tables that Jude put up, sent back to them, and try and figure out where they should go with their program from there. So we're updating the system. This is a big part of our program. So to have electronic data capture, data validation. Many of these technologies are available, and they just need to be fine-tuned or adapted for breeders currently, so that there can be templates downloaded from SIL through your smartphone to your scale head, and all your, if you're doing your winning weights, it just go in there and get uploaded up to SIL. That's our goal. We're upgrading the database. Currently we use a JADE system, which there's nothing wrong with JADE, it's just that you just can't get any developers. We're down to one developer, and John Davies, God forbid if he gets hit by a bus, because we'll be in trouble. Where the genotype database at the moment is stored, the genotypes are stored somewhere within Ag Research. So we're creating a database there, having easier data entry. We're going to a single-step genetic engine that Mark talked about that included the genotype information, and developing some field support tools and decision support tools that will sit on top of SIL rather than looking at PDFs. So that's what we're doing with SIL. Industry tools, Jude this is a slide from Jude, thanks for explaining it just before, Jude. But really it's about assisting ram buyers with selecting the right genetics for their property, and making sure they are driving up the right driveway. Really a lot of decisions are made, especially with sheep. Once you get to the driveway, it's not so much selecting the individual ram once you're there, because you're hooking your trailer to a particular breeder, and so we want to make sure that commercial farmers know which breeders they should follow going forward. I won't talk any more about that. G by E, genetics by environment. As you've seen and you're aware, sheep are getting pushed more to the hills. Are what we selected in the past for lowlands are the same size, the same genetics, right? Do they still rank the same in the hill country? So we've got work going on that was originated at the end of Ovita, carrying on in this. This is Shannon's work, who spoke earlier. We're involved in the ISGC. We put, I think, 96 rams in for sequencing, looking for in gene discovery work. I won't dwell on that. Beef, a component of beef. Beef to date, there has been very little research done in New Zealand, if any, and they've been crying out for it. Genetics here are based on what comes out of breed plan in Australia, and there's, let's just say, a reasonable amount of scepticism amongst breeders about what's done across the ditch. So a couple of the things we've got up and running in the first year is a beef progeny test across commercial farms, demonstrating the genetics in a commercial farming system. I think we've got 5 properties, Whangarā, Rangataik, Tutani on the east coast of the North Island, Mendip Hills up out of Cheviot, and Kawhawhai up the Hacker Valley. I think it's a Lone Star property. I think we've got circa 1,600 cows and 600 heifers, made it to 52 different bull size last year. Some high-performing ones from the US that actually came through, organised through Focus, some high-performing New Zealand bulls, and let's just say some traditional East Coast bulls. And it's really to demonstrate, quantify what these genetics are doing in the commercial environment. As an earlier talk showed, that for a lot of sheep farmers, the cow is there to actually keep the pasture in good condition where they make their money off sheep. But for others, they're interested in getting that profit out of high yielding steers. The other part is a Steve Miller project that's commenced, is looking at the maternal cow, looking at that stability through body condition score, and looking at weights across 4 properties, and following from the stud through commercial operations. I think the main property we're working with is Mount Linton, an iconic farm out in southwestland at the moment. Okay, so, and in summary, I mean, in terms of the way the project, this picture was taken in Tutani, one of our beef progeny test sites. It's just spectacular country. The building blocks, the blue is what is the work that is completed and just been implemented now. The green is underway. The red is currently being negotiated and sorting out new genotyping by sequencing technologies. Ag Research is already doing work in this area, and we're looking to join in with that. So next year we'll have the across all cell weekly run, so there won't be multiple indexes, there'll be just one version of the truth. We'll have predictions for meat quality, data collection tools. We're developing APIs on cells, so other providers can plug in other apps or tools that they'd like to, that they would see add value. Have a new meat module the following year. Predictions for FE, decision support tools. Things like the maternal cow and ewe projects, these things take time. It's like, as you're well aware. The single step, the plan is have that up and running commercially in 2018, along with the new database transition from Jade. And in beef, the first cohort of the beef progeny test, the results won't be out to 2018. We have linked in with the Australian sire benchmarking program in Angus, and we're doing the same with Hereford this year. Other projects that we're looking at is a dairy beef. There's one of our directors and some work that Abacus has done on in that area indicates that that's going to be a big part of New Zealand's beef production. Well, it already is. Probably, 60% of New Zealand beef production comes from dairy beef, so we're looking at work in that area as well. And a thank you list is very similar to the list of thank yous for Ovita. Many of the same people are involved. So, yeah, thank you.